Welcome to the Three Moons, Three Souls podcast with host Jacqueline Burke. Today's special guest is Ashley Ancion.
Welcome to the podcast, Ashley. How are you today?
I'm good, and yourself?
Oh, good. I'm so glad you're here to join us to talk about your conversation with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So on this episode, we talk about going back to when we were little girls. So
Mhm.
say around 4 or 5 years old or grade one. What was your dreams at that age?
Um, I think, well, I was always kind of everywhere. I'm a big old dreamer head. Um, I like animals, so a was always on my mind. But then I had like a really good teacher, so a teacher was always kind of like dibble dabbled in there too. So
Yeah.
I think those were like the two that were kind of like on my mind when I was a kid. I always wanted to work with animals in some sort of way, just
Yeah.
because animals are, they're
Yeah,
pure.
they are. They're very therapeutic. I love them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they don't judge you.
exactly. They just love you.
Yeah. So who inspired you as a child?
Well, it was funny when I was like thinking about that question. Like, I couldn't narrow it down, of course, because sometimes that's just hard. So I had my mom because I've always thought my mom was a superhero for what she's kind of overcome in life and how she handled herself with us growing up. And then I had my grandma Ancion on there because I remember growing up as a little kid, I always thought she was just full of wisdom, and
Oh,
I just loved that about her. It was just like, oh, you could learn about the world from grandma.
yeah.
And then I had Julia Roberts on there. And the
Oh,
reason I had that was growing up, I remember like watching her movies and stuff. And I always was like, I love that lady's smile. Like
yeah.
it was something that always like I think about that even to this day. Like it was something I thought about as a child. It was like that's just a beautiful smile. And like I
Yeah.
remember her getting criticized for having such a big mouth. And it was like, wow, you're all like looking past the
Yeah.
beauty and pure how pure that smile is. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say those people among like others, throughout
Yeah.
life growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she is very like when she does smile, it's you see innocence in it as well.
Yeah.
Like, very childlike, like she
Yeah,
gets
and
so
just like
excited.
happiness, just right? Yeah, that like child happiness just comes out and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, you can't help but smile when she smiles.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. What were some of the movies she was in that stand out to you?
Aaron Brockovich was like a
Oh,
good one. I don't know. I know there's like so many others, but like, like we were saying, red
yeah,
paws brain is a great thing.
yeah. It's amazing I make it through these podcasts half the time with
Right.
mine.
No
Oh
joke.
man. Um, so can you tell me a little bit about so when you were a teenager, did things change like when from like wanting to be a vet or a teacher, or at what point did things kind of move in a different direction for you?
I would say the direction probably turned like once I had my son.
Okay.
Um, Me and his dad didn't like we weren't together, so I knew I needed to like go and make something of myself. So I actually went back to college and did the early learning and childcare course,
Okay.
knowing that I could still be a mom
Yeah.
and do that type of job. So I went and did the upgrading and then got into that course. So I think that like changed where my thought process was. Like I went from being a kid to kind of raising a kid. I got pregnant at 18. So,
Yeah.
it was just like, what's going to work for me as a mom at this
Okay.
age and all that stuff. And it kind of went in like it wasn't too far from what I was thinking, like, vet teacher and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, it wasn't a teacher. I went for kind of the younger kids and stuff
Yeah.
like that because again, they're just so pure and I love how they question the world and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's just like, yeah, Another
Yeah,
pure thing in life, just like animals. It's one for the
absolutely.
pure happy things.
Yeah. So what, how did you get involved in or interested in, sorry, I should say, in what you're going to school for now?
So it was kind of just, I knew before I kind of made the choice, before life kind of like gave me a slap in the face and was like, yes, this is it. I kind of knew that I was starting to look into a different avenue on a career path. And at first I thought it was like I was going more towards like therapy and that kind of stuff. And then I just had some like life events happen, like my house got broken into
Oh my goodness.
and then menopause and just having that time to really deeply soul search.
Yes.
Um, which I think sometimes we think like, oh yeah, I did my soul searching of what I really want, but like I think sometimes we have to actually ask ourselves, like, did I actually sit down deeply?
Yeah.
And I have always like wanted to go dabble into the therapy part, the massage therapy. I always thought that was awesome. Like you get to make your own hours if you want. You can go work with a company, you can make your own. Like there's so many avenues.
Oh yeah.
And then the lady that I know here in town and started getting massages from, and I've just known her for years, she started talking about like how you can go all the way up to learning how to like massage animals and stuff. And I was
Oh,
like, well, ding, ding, ding. This is
yeah.
even more of like a yes in my brain. Like when she said that, like all the sparks went off in my brain. It was like, yes, Ashley, like this is, let's
Ah,
do this. Let's do this. So I just bit the bullet, and at
yeah.
first I was scared. I'm like, is this what I want to do at 39 years old, is change my career and go back to school and get into debt? And like, who knows if we're how bad our recession's gonna be, but
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? No. I had to stop and realize it's time for me. I've never stopped and actually done things for me and did that soul searching. So like, yeah, here I am. And
Oh,
I'm like super excited.
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you never stop learning, and you can
No.
go till you're any age
Yeah.
and try new things and, dive into different businesses or jobs or anything like that. Nothing's stopping you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I feel like I had to really like break the whole like what we grew up thinking, that I grew up thinking that you need to get a career, right? Like not far out of getting out of college, and
Yeah.
you got to stick with that career, and like you don't change your career, and you should be with a company for years and years and years. And that was my mindset. That's how Hollywood and everything portrays it. Like, oh, you've been with your company for 30 some years. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that put a lot of pressure on me until I realized that, well, I had a therapist say, like, tell me, she was like, well, why can't we change our career?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to stay like nothing's forever? And it's like, okay, like I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, why am I stuck in this? So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No,
I'm
we're
fine.
here to learn as much as we possibly can. You know,
Yeah,
that helps
yeah,
with the wisdom and what our soul's meant to learn, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you mind if we go back and I want to ask you about you mentioned you had been broken into. Now, I've spoken to a lot of women who have had that happen to them. Some were at home, some weren't. Do you
Yeah,
mind if I ask your story on that?
absolutely. So, I've actually just moved into a new house in June. It'll be a year that I've been in this house. So it was a brand new place and whatnot, and I was just kind of laying there with my dog, dozing off in my room, and I just had that feeling. I'm like, I have really big intuitions.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that something was in my room, just very uneasy, and I opened up my eyes, and there was this guy standing there in my room, not over me, but kind of like a few feet in from my doorway, but just like blankly staring at me. And of course, I panicked. I
Yeah.
hit the wall. My poor dog, she got plastered against a wall. She was a puppy then, so I panicked. He ran out my door. I thought he was gone, so I kind of like panicked, and then I went to like the other side of my room and kind of collected myself. So I thought he was gone, so I was going to go tell my son on the other side of the house that somebody was in the house,
Yeah.
even though I'm sure he heard my scream. So as I was leaving my room, my laundry room's like right beside me, and I noticed he was crouched down by the door. Like we have a door that goes into our backyard in our
Hmm.
laundry room. So he was crouched down behind the door. And then I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I did like a whole back step. I fell on the dog. I screamed. My son came running out. My pit bull went the other way.
Oh, oh my.
All my dogs were scared. They ran the other way. So
Oh,
that was bittersweet, though. It's
yeah.
probably for the best. You never know if they
Yeah.
have a weapon or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's yelling at him to like leave, and he's like blubbering stuff that we couldn't understand. And then all I could understand that he kept saying gun,
Oh,
gun, and I didn't know if he had a gun, if there was somebody outside looking for him with a gun. Wasn't sure, but it just was not a good situation. So we're yelling at him to get out. I panic and I have a little bat beside my bed, and I grabbed the bat hoping that would scare him. Did not scare him at all.
oh,
So I picked up the phone and started calling 911, and my son's yelling at him to leave. And just as they picked up, he leaves out of the house. So I tell them the situation. My son's yelling at him to get out of the yard and all that stuff. And yeah, like so from then I haven't like I don't I've changed my room around a million different times.
yeah.
I had to go on like just kind of a medical leave
Yeah.
from work, and then I couldn't return to what I was doing just because of like where
Right.
I'm at and
Yeah.
different things. It was just triggers, a lot of triggers to go
Yeah.
back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that was just another, honestly, like the universe slapping me in the face of like what I was thinking was not the right direction for me.
Oh, wow.
And like it really made me think of like, okay, like I know I love helping people and I love being around children and all these different things. Well, how can I help in a different way? And
Yeah.
that's how my mind went back to even like going back to massage. Like
Yeah.
I can help people in that kind of way. And it
Wow.
doesn't steal from like my peace, my energy, and all of that. Because now I have triggers, and like my even my poor dog, she's just an anxiety ridden because
Oh,
she was a puppy. So
yeah.
being plastered against a wall and
Yeah. Oh,
almost fell on, and
yeah. Oh my
so
gosh.
it changed my life, but
Absolutely.
I can look at it now and say it changed it for the positive, even though I still have like my own triggers, and I
Yeah.
still don't fully feel safe in my new home, which is unfortunate because it's
Yeah.
my home. Like me and my son bought it, so
Yeah.
it's ours. It's not that we rent here. So trying to retrain myself to be okay in my new home
In your
is
space.
hard, but we're getting there. Like
Well,
some days I have triggers and it just
yeah.
is what it is, but I'll work through those. Like
Yeah.
eventually those will subside. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing that you looked at something devastating like that and looked for the message. What
Too,
you
because
were
I
to
was
learn.
really depressed there for a while. It was like, how am I going to get through this? How am I
Yeah.
going to feel safe? Like, because right, once we feel unsafe, especially in our own
Yeah.
home, like, where do you feel safe, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like, I got put on an unpaid leave because of this event because I just didn't know what to do. I was in shock and I went into work and they were like,
Yeah.
well, like,
Yeah.
and my boss ended up driving me home, and
Yeah.
it was just not good. And then I ended up getting put on an unpaid leave, and then I
Mhm.
got let go. But then I was like, well, this is for the best because I
Yeah.
can't come back.
Right.
So it was like, it was a lot
Well,
to
yeah, that
overcome
is a lot. I mean,
because I've
even,
never been like fired in my life before too. So it was just like a lot of
well,
negatives were like bombing me, and I was just like, oh my goodness.
I don't
Started
know who
feeling
you
really
work
shitty about
for, but
myself.
they should be slapping themselves in the head because really, wake up. You have an
Yeah.
employee who went through something completely devastating, and scary, and you're not going to support her.
Yeah, it
So I
was a
mean,
little unfortunate.
yeah, that's
But I feel like
unfortunate.
everything happens for a reason. At
It
that time, I
does.
was super angry, and it was like, how could somebody do that? But then it was like, okay, well, Ashley, this is the universe, like just giving
Yeah,
you some nice little taps in the face of
yeah,
like, no, 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 you need to go back to the path that was actually meant for you. And I
yes,
feel like I'm actually finally on that
yeah,
path. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I
Mm,
do believe employers should support their employees 100%.
yeah.
Because we're all human, we all have personal lives that do affect our work at
Yeah.
the end of the day. You can't get around it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm very happy to hear that you looked at that and knew that there was something better for you. Like that's brave. That's bravery right there.
My
Yeah.
mom to thank for that. She was there as my support. And like
Yeah.
I said, I've learned a lot from her. She's gone through some quite stuff. So I've
Yeah.
always thought she was a superhero. Like going back to
Yeah.
who I looked up to, I always was like, wow, like if she can come get through those kind of things in life and
Yeah.
like do what she does, well, like, well, so can I. Like my issues
Yeah.
aren't as bad. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I'll put on that
amazing.
superhero cape too, I guess. Here we
Yeah.
go.
That's amazing. Like what a story. I mean, I'm dumbfounded. I really am. I mean, did they ever catch the
They
man?
did, and but being he wasn't violent,
Yes.
he got let go.
Yeah, we
So
call that the catch and release program.
yeah, well, and I had
Like
somebody say
fishing.
to me, they were like, "Well, it's like it's not victim services. Like there's a whole nother group for that. Like the criminal system is for
Yeah,
the criminals, and you kind of get to learn the systems in different ways. But I will always be glad that I guess he was high enough that he
all good. Yeah,
wasn't because everyone and I had a hard time because everyone was like, well, just be thankful that he didn't hurt you. And I was like, I will always be thankful, but there's still
yeah,
things
yeah,
that come from waking up with a man looking at you in your room.
yeah.
But then like 3 weeks later, he was also like on a criminal watch list of a do not approach.
Oh, wow.
He's dangerous. So like that also validated my feelings of like
Your intuition.
that like I knew he was dangerous, but he was just whatever
Yeah,
that night. And like, thank God
yeah,
in a way, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a different question. Um, so okay, so I know like with all the events in your life have sparked interest in what you're doing now, correct?
yeah.
And I'm very happy to hear you're able to work on animals to help them as well too. So is this like a registered massage therapy course or is there an alternative um course that combines with your massage course or how like an energy
I'm started. The first year is the um, spa practitioner. So
okay.
that's pretty much like it's 8 months. So this is what I'm starting in now, and it's 8 months. And it's pretty much you're getting to learn the body and
Yeah.
feel like, just being a little doctor here,
Yeah.
learning all the tissues and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then your second year, you actually get really into like your massage therapy.
Okay.
And then I think after your first year, don't quote me, I'm not positive. I
Yeah.
think you can register as your first year massage therapist, but
Okay.
I want to start there and then I want to like build up because I think
Yeah.
from what I hear, I haven't fully got dabbled into it yet is like once you've done all of those levels for
Yeah.
humans, then you get to dabble into animals.
Oh,
So,
good.
which is just nice because that's a full circle for me. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to work with animals. So if I can get there, that would be a full circle for me. Even just like our little crafting business, like I want to get
Yeah.
into doing pet memorial pieces.
Oh,
That's
no.
my dream is to get good enough to do those because that just speaks to me. Like I always have animals in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But that's just a special thing to me is is doing something like that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, your crafting business, I mean, you create beautiful pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do. Like
My
it's
mom's pretty talented too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I know I wouldn't be that talented to be able to do that. That's just something I'm creative, but not that in that way. But no, they're beautiful. And what a nice thing to do, like a memorial for animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some really unfortunate events happen, like even with my last little dog, the place, the like where the vet and then where we bought the memorial piece through the vet, it wasn't a good experience. And then what we got wasn't really what we were told, and it just made the experience even tougher. And I always felt that like it's like when people die and animals die,
Yeah.
everything out there to do with it is expensive and
Yeah.
it's more heart-wrenching. And I
Yeah.
want to be able to give people a really good price on something that like I know what it feels like to lose a pet. Well,
Yeah.
and like, I've lost my dad too, and it's just like I know what those feel like. And like most of us have lost something or someone in our life. So, and it's
Yeah.
just like I don't like those processes that make it harder. So that's my
Yeah.
goal. Yeah.
Oh,
Just to
nice.
ease the heart a
Well, yeah.
little bit.
We need more of that out there, don't you think? I
Yep,
mean, it's just
absolutely.
yeah, like enough negativity,
Yep.
like negativity be gone, people. Like it's
Yep.
just
Vanish away,
yeah.
go go. Peace and love.
Yeah. Start smiling, everybody.
Yeah.
Jazz hands.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, so what is the best piece of advice you've received lately? So with
Um,
regards to like your either it could be your career, your course, or you as a woman,
I
you know?
guess there was a few things that kind of came to mind when you said that. For one, I kind of already said it once was careers aren't forever and it's okay to change careers. That really had to be pounded into me with like how the world portrays how we should be in our work life.
Yeah.
And then I had a therapist tell me, especially with like my anxiety and my ADHD, and it was huge learning this was she said, stay in your own lane and stay in your own bubble. And she was like, every time you think about what that person's thinking or doing, you're no longer in your space in your bubble and you're no longer focusing on you and your potential and what you need to learn about you or. And then like after that session, it and then I went back the next session and I was like, oh my gosh, that is a really hard thing to do as a human being to stay in our own bubble and to stay in our own lane and not think about, well, what does Billy Joe think of me? Like as I
Yeah.
stepped out of my house in my Cookie Monster onesie and I thought
Yeah.
everybody was off to bed and here I am like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right? But it is so hard because I had a hard time with that with a job and I kept being like, well, I'm sure she's thinking about this about my plans. I'm sure she's thinking this about me. And she's like, well, why are you doing that? And why are you giving her the power? And why are you being in her bubble?
Hmm.
So learning to just step back and like refocusing of like, nope, that's somebody else's bubble. I need to come back in mine. That
Yeah.
was the hardest thing to learn. And I still, like, to this day, have to tell myself, like, okay, Ashley, whose bubble are you being in right now? Because
Yeah.
it's not yours.
Yeah.
Why is somebody else's name that, you may not like in your bubble? No, no, we don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boundaries, right? We have
Yeah,
to create
yeah,
boundaries in that bubble.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. We have to create boundaries for other people, but we also have to create boundaries for ourselves and like
Yeah.
be able to self-correct and be like, okay, well, and I was even saying that like with the menopause, you have to like it's the honesty thing of like with
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
and others, like, oh, okay, and I've like gone back to my son and I'm like, I'm sorry, that was
Yeah.
wrong of me.
Yeah.
And like that is huge. To
Yeah.
me, that's huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with ourselves, right? Because we're so easily
Yeah.
can pick on somebody else or like focus on what other people's either whether what they're bad at or what they're good at, right? You're either
Yeah.
like, oh well, they're not good at that, or you're like you envy and you're like, wow, they're so good at that. Instead of being in your own bubble and be like, if that's something I admire about that person, well, how can I get there? how could I be that?
Yeah.
Am I that? Like, when you start doing the inside work instead of worrying about everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, that's good advice. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be happy for somebody and, to share their joy or
Absolutely.
that sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, we're grateful for them having success or happiness in what they love. So we
Yep.
have to do the same for ourselves, like be happy for
Yep.
ourselves that we're doing what we enjoy.
Yep. The whole like fill in your cup too. You can't just
Yeah.
fill other people's cup and forget about your own.
Yeah. Right
That's why
on.
I had to switch jobs too. I was constantly pouring out of my cups,
Ah,
and there was nothing left in my cups. As
yeah.
much as I love kids and love helping people, like working with kids, I was coming home and I'm constantly trying to make the programs better or making crafts, and like I was not doing anything for me. I loved doing what I did, but it wasn't actually putting stuff back into my cup. That was for them.
Yeah.
That took me a hard learn that wasn't for me. As much as I thought it was for me, it was like, well, I'm making my job easier. I'm making it easier for the kids. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
That wasn't for me.
Yeah.
That was for them.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta find that balance, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of balance, how do you find balance between your personal life, your school and your business to still
Well,
have me time?
that's the hardest thing to learn, I feel, and I feel like it honestly also comes with like age. I
Yeah.
feel like if I was doing this now in like my 20s, I'd probably be a hot mess train, like anxiety would be coming out full force.
Yeah.
I feel like what I've learned with like my anxiety, my ADHD, even like I used to laugh at people that would make lists. I have a whole calendar that's color coordinated. You know what? I look at it and it makes me smile because I like colors. So I'm like,
Yeah.
like, did I ever think I was going to become like a list maker and stuff like that? No.
Oh,
But something comes with learning those strategies that actually do work for yourself. And
yeah.
I'm constantly re-evaluating of like, okay, how can I do this better? Last week was kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
What can I do this week that's a little bit better? That's going to make like home life better, business life better, market life better, like all of that. And like me and my mom have like conversed about it. It was like, we were trying to sign up for all of these markets. And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, wait, we had to take a step back and be like, okay, well, that's not giving us any time for us. And like, she
Yeah.
wants to travel with her dogs and her husband. And like, I have a new house, I have yard work. I want to enjoy life too. So then we had to step it back and be like, well, you know what? It's okay to just have, our stuff
Yeah.
at the boutique and like a few other things. That's
Right.
okay. And
Absolutely.
it's like, having to step back and really like, again, the honesty with yourself of like, what's doable? What all do I want in my life?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just, that was the one thing of why I didn't like childcare anymore because as much as I loved it, I just didn't want to always be thinking about the programs, and that's what I'd do when I'd get home. And it was like, well, no, I want a life now too. I have my
Yeah.
dogs, my son's all grown up. What do I want for me? Well, we all deserve me time. So as much as I loved that, I knew that I could not stop doing that. I couldn't put that boundary in front of myself and be like, hey, Ashley, like when you leave childcare, that's where you leave it. There was no way in heck that was happening.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I want to do things better for children. That's just what it is in me. And
Yeah.
I love that. So it was like, no, I can love children a different way. I can
Yeah.
spoil children, my friends have children. One day Ty will have children. There's going to be times where I can spoil children
Yeah.
and whatever. So
Absolutely.
yeah, like being honest with yourself and like reevaluating, not being afraid of like, well, this is what I said my
Yeah.
schedule is going to be. And then being stuck in it and being like, just trying to redo that all the time and being
Yeah.
like, well, why can't it work? Well, because that schedule doesn't work. And I've learned something I on a podcast about working with your energy
Yeah.
and instead of time, working with your own energy. And I started really looking at that, and it was like, as much as I'm not a morning person, when's my most productive time? Morning,
Yeah.
morning. But then I really started working with that. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I would get up, I'd have my coffee, I'd do a couple of epoxy pours, I'd go
Yeah.
about my day, do what I had to, had my evenings with my son and my dogs. It was like, I literally just accomplished everything I wanted in a day.
Yeah.
What? And before I couldn't even do that in a week.
Yeah.
But it was just constantly, and even with starting school now, I know there's going to be a few shuffles until I
Yeah.
figure out, like, okay, how am I going to work all this in together to make sure that it flows nicely and I'm not just a stress ball of like, we need to enjoy life. We're only on here once
Yeah,
that
right
we
on.
remember.
Isn't that the truth? Well, that's awesome. You're mastering that of your
Pretty
energy.
tough battle.
Well, yeah, but you know what? It's working for you, and that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you.
All right.
Okay. So, with what you know now, what advice would you give to 4 or 5-year-old Ashley?
Oh, every time I thought about this question, it was like always like a choke ball in the throat. And
Oh,
I feel like you're right. Like, I feel like we could just say like so many things to our younger selves. And I feel like, see, yeah, here it's gonna be all teary.
oh,
Um, I feel like being okay with being you, because it took
yeah,
me a lot of years to be that. I was always told I was too emotional and I need to dial myself back. I'm too loud. I'm too shy. Like
yeah,
I was always told that from so many people, and it took me a lot of years to properly love myself.
yeah,
So I guess like I would tell my younger self to love myself and be cautious with some of the people that I'm letting in, not only like my head and my heart and my life, but like what I'm internalizing from some people in my life, because I could have maybe like I if that was there, it might have been different
yeah,
in some aspects of my life. Because being told that I was too emotional, like it took me 30 some years to be okay with who I was, but also learning how to deal with that where like say people that I love wouldn't be like, you're too emotional.
yeah,
Now it's like, well, she's learned a lot about her emotions and she's really like trying. Like, I feel if I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child,
hmm,
things probably would have been different, but that just wasn't kind of
yeah,
there when I was growing up. Like, my mom said she had a psychologist actually at the house
yeah.
because I was a super picky eater and
Oh,
all this stuff. I was defiant. Why can't she get her room together? All this stuff. And like, kind of just came out with like, she is who she is. But like,
yeah,
if we look at that back now, and it's just like, if she would have been diagnosed with her
yeah,
PTSD, if certain things would have been different.
yeah.
So I think just telling myself that it's okay to be you and to just be cautious with what I'm intaking in my heart, soul, and brain, because we,
Yeah,
especially as children, we absorb a
a
lot,
lot. Yeah, we do.
and it's usually for some odd reason it comes out in a negative in some aspects when
Yeah.
it wasn't even made to be a negative. Like my mom telling me that I was too emotional was her not trying to be a negative, but she was just trying to deal with how she knew and how she grew up and right, different eras,
Yeah,
totally different eras, right? My son's a total different era too.
yeah.
um so yeah, like I feel like there's a million things we could tell ourselves, but I think that would be a big one, is like it is okay to be you, because I was always so I'm too emotional. I feel all these things. And like even learning what an empath was and all that stuff, like I wish that was more taught and stuff because like it makes a lot of sense when you learn more about yourself.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not so much taught about learning about yourself.
Yeah.
It's very like, especially with the world and Hollywood, right? You're so into
Yeah.
everybody else and not yourself.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know, right? That's just, oh,
well, you're amazing. I really
for
appreciate you
you.
being here. My goodness. Yeah, I've learned so much about you in like half an hour. It's been a true gift, actually. Like it's just, yeah.
Thing of ADHD and stuff, you just like bleh. Here,
No,
here,
no.
you want to know? I'll let you know.
No, you know what? More people should have that because then you get the truth, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
some things it's just good to know about people. Like,
Oh yeah.
I feel like if mom grew up knowing that she had like some severe PSD, like things would have been so different for her.
Yeah.
And I'm just proud of her that she, in her old age, like older age, not old
Yeah.
age, dear Lord, older age,
Yeah.
got the help and like is battling that. I'm proud of her. Like
Yeah.
she's my
Oh, that's
superhero.
wonderful. Yeah. Showing gratitude to mom. That's
Yep,
wonderful.
that's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and you have a lovely day, and we are going to have you back because we want to know about your school and how it's going for you and everything, your business, everything.
So sounds good. I'm excited. Have a
Oh,
good
yay.
day.
You too. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Three Moons, Three Souls podcast.